Lally ho, fellow warriors of darkness. Haru here, and today I wanted to start a new little series that I'm going to call Fresh Prog. Shadowbringers has brought in quite the abundance of newer players, especially with the real world in its current state, and sometimes I feel like there are just so many little things that all of us veteran players just take for granted when it comes to raiding in this game. With this series, I want to go over a lot of the basics and demystify raiding and Party Finder in general, and give more people the tools they need to succeed. In today's inaugural episode, I want to talk about learning a new opener and figuring out a rotation. With 5.3 coming out in less than 2 weeks and the raid tier likely unlocking, I'd imagine that many players are looking to pick up different jobs to raid Savage with, or just jump into PF in general. So I wanted to talk about where you can find resources to pick up openers, and the types of things you should do when you're learning a new opener. First and foremost, if you're looking to pick up a new opener, I highly recommend checking out SaltedXIV.com. They're a relatively new website geared around consolidating player content in a centralized location to make it faster and easier to find the specific information you need to just pick up and play. They have links to a lot of useful resources no matter what you're trying to do. Navigating the site is easy and intuitive, so finding exactly what you want is a breeze. I'll leave a link to SaltedXIV in the description below. So, now that you've picked up your new opener, it's time to start practicing. Most people will look at an opener and just start pressing buttons against a training dummy, but in my opinion, this isn't a great place to start. To make an analogy, when you're doing this, you're trying to learn how to sing a song in a foreign language without actually understanding the meaning behind the words. Though this is possible and you can memorize a song by rote like this, it's much more efficient when you actually understand the language. Learning a new opener is no different. I recommend that you start by doing your homework and reading all your tooltips. Go over the abilities in an opener one by one and make sure to read all of them. Before even pressing any buttons, try and understand what those buttons even do. Try to understand why you're pressing buttons in that order rather than another. Doing this might seem like a boring exercise, but it's incredibly important to help you understand how you can adapt and alter things whenever mechanics are happening. After this comes planning out your hotbars. Before ever pressing a button on a job, I find that it's always extremely effective to set up your keybinds in such a way that performing the opener is easy, natural, and just makes logical sense for your hands to move. For instance, I tend to keep my combo GCDs on the Q, E, and R buttons. I set it up so that any rear positionals I have are those unmodified keys, with flank positionals relegated to shift modifiers on those same keys, so that I know that anytime I'm holding shift, it's going to be a flank positional. Since my GCDs are clustered in that specific region of the keyboard, I want to make sure that my abilities are within easy reach. If I need to hit something frequently, I'll want to put them on a very easy to reach button that I can hit while moving, such as the number keys T or G. Likewise, if I need to hit things in a specific order, such as my jumps on Dragoon or my mudras on Ninja, I'll typically put those in sequence on my 1 through 4 number keys. This is what makes logical sense for me, but it might be different for you, especially if you play on controller or click your abilities, or simply play on standard mode rather than legacy mode like I do. Look over the opener and imagine yourself pressing the buttons in that specific order and try to come up with a layout that makes sense for your hand to hit. This not only makes it so that you're more comfortable performing your rotation, but you're also mentally preparing yourself for performing the opener. Alright. Tooltips are all read and hotbars are set up. It's finally time to hit a dummy. Find your favorite training dummy and start whacking away. When you first start doing this, you're going to mess up a lot. Everyone does. Most people will actually stop hitting a dummy the moment that they make a mistake, and I actually highly advise against doing this. I think that soldiering on and pressing forward and instead trying to understand how this affects your rotation and how you can try to recover is incredibly important. If you missed X ability, what does that mean for your rotation? If you clipped your GCD, does that mean that something else is mistimed? Keep an eye on things like your raid buffs and try to see and understand what you could have fit in it if you didn't mess up. I recommend doing openers in 1-minute spurts when you're first learning, and increasing that to 3 to 5-minute spurts once you can consistently perform the opener, just to feel the difference between doing it properly and not. This type of practice will allow you to tinker with your rotation in the middle of a high-stress scenario, or if you accidentally drop your rotation in a raid. A lot of people seem to fail to understand the power of simply trying to actively understand what you're doing while hitting a training dummy like this. Of course, like any other tool, training dummies are only as useful as you make them, so don't just stand there and mindlessly hit the dummy. Put yourself through some training exercises. Try to practice little things like slide casting or moving in the busiest part of your rotation. Whenever you identify yourself lacking in a specific area, it's worth it to come back to the training dummy and try to come up with an exercise that will allow you to practice. I actually spend a lot of time doing this off camera. If I'm ever idling around, I tend to train in this manner and it never feels dull simply because of how much I'm thinking about my rotation. Once you feel like you're comfortable with your opener, I actually recommend visiting SaltedXIV. This is located in Calusia. Teleport to Yilmore and use the main aetheryte to travel to the Path of Glory. Follow this path down here, and take a left right here, and you'll find a man named the Soft-Faced Bloke. Interacting with this NPC opens a menu that lists various fights in Shadowbringers. I recommend picking the highest difficulty fight that you are geared for. If you're uncertain as to what that is, take a note of your item level depicted here in the top of the window and open your Duty Finder menu. Navigate to High-End Duties for current tier content, or the Shadowbringers tab of Raids under Regular Duty for older content. Scrolling down in the description, you will find Average Item Level. This item level is what Square deems the minimum item level required to enter and clear the content. Once you're in SaltedXIV, you'll be presented with a training dummy. In your duty list, there will be a 3-minute timer with a ticking 2-minute preparation timer beneath it. You can use this preparation timer to apply a food buff or give yourself a countdown. The moment you hit the dummy, the 3-minute counter begins ticking. Your goal is to destroy the dummy before this 3-minute timer runs out. If you're a newer player, I don't recommend tackling Savage content until you are able to consistently kill its corresponding dummy. Finally, it's time for some live fire exercises. Start by going into content that you feel comfortable practicing in. This is going to be different for everyone. Most people will feel more comfortable queuing into normal raids or EX trials, but some of you might pick things up incredibly quick and not feel adequately challenged by this. If you're one of these people and feel better going into the first few floors of Savage, do that. Just bear in mind that in these cases, you're typically entering a situation where all the other players are aiming to clear quickly. So avoid doing this unless you're completely confident that you can clear even though you're practicing. Whatever the case, find a comfortable environment for you to learn in. Your goal here is to start getting used to performing your rotation while simultaneously performing mechanics. Once you feel like you're able to do this easily, your journey is finally complete and you should be good enough at your new job to tackle anything you want to. Picking up a new job doesn't have to be daunting if you go about it in an organized manner like this. I really hope that this video inspires all of you to try different jobs and learn new rotations. If you like this type of content, make sure to leave a like. If you have any additional tips for players trying to pick up another job, or have any extra questions, put them in the comments below. I'd actually really like to hear about your experiences with learning rotations. I intend to release videos in this fashion every week from now on as well, so if you're interested in keeping up with this series, make sure to subscribe. I also stream fairly frequently on Twitch, and there will be a link to my stream below if you want to come hang out. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.